Hey, everybody, welcome in the Full Court Press Basketball Podcast. Hope you're digging yourself out of the snow. It's pretty bad out there. We're taping Monday, and Jason and I are recording remotely. So if the audio sounds a little different this week, apologies. But we never pass up the chance to talk all things hoops. And it was getting really good until the snow hit. So we'll kind of start there. And kind of set up the stretch drive here. For Jason Guarente, Jeff Reinhart here with you. Jason, have you dug your car out yet?
I have not. I'm about halfway through the driveway, and it was just too daunting yesterday. We've had some mild winters the last couple of years, and now we're having a more traditional Pennsylvania winter, and I remember that it's terrible and I hate it. So that's where we are right now.
Yep, whammo. And somebody just messaged me this morning, Monday morning, as we tape, and they said, "Hey, by the way, look at the forecast. Next Saturday, Sunday, we're supposed to get like another foot of snow."
I saw that. It's too soon. Too soon. Let's dig out of this one first.
Oh gosh. Okay, let's talk hoops. Get you updated on what's going on and where we're at. CV Bucks, Section 2 champ.
Valley. Yeah. 10-0 in the section. The big win for Conestoga Valley last week was at Warwick, which essentially clinched the section title because it put Warwick 3 back. They were up 18, and then they kind of had to hold on for dear life in the fourth quarter. But no one was looking at CV and saying, "Oh, well, there's one of the LL favorites at the beginning of the season," because they lost to Mere Salisbury, and you figured there had to be some sort of step back from that. Just after they reached the LL semifinals last season, but their record-wise, they're better. They didn't win the section last year, and this year they have. First title since 2015. Started 7-0, and they were actually number 1 in the 6A power ratings for a while, and then they lost 4 in a row over Christmas against some really good teams, and everyone thought maybe they were going to come back down to earth, and maybe they just weren't good enough to see this through, but they've won 6 of their last 7. They have a ton of experience. They have a lot of seniors. They have a lot of athletes who've won in multiple sports. Sawyer Espinshade, obviously a quarterback for their section championship football team. They have Cameron Bear, who's taken a big leap forward, and Kylan Noon, who's a sophomore who didn't really hit the varsity radar last year, is a 11.7 point per game guy. So he's been a big addition. CV has a good road ahead here. They haven't been to the final since 2009. They start with the Section 4 runner-up. Obviously, they'd be a big favorite in that game. And then the semifinals are on their home floor at the Rill. So it shapes up well for CV to possibly make a run at this thing.
Interesting. Okay. We also have a section champ in Octorara, correct? Brave
Octorara boys. Yep, 8-0 in the league, 18-0 overall. First section championship since they joined the league in 1819. They've been runner-up many times, but they've never won it. They were down 18 against Lancaster Catholic at halftime, and it looked like, well, that's the end of the undefeated season, but they storm back and they win by 3. And there's something to that, right? You win every game, you're used to winning, you're able to dig out of that hole and pull it out. So they will get the Section 1 runner-up in the league quarterfinals, and then they would have to play likely at CV in the semis if they were to get there. So that would be an interesting thing. You'd have an undefeated team playing a true road game in the semifinals, but that's just, the sites are predetermined, so you get what you get.
True. True story. I'm driving home after coverage on Friday night, and I get a text message from Jason that says, ... what happens if there's a 4-way tie at the end of the year? So I immediately laughed and called him. And any chance of a 4-way tie in Section 1? Where are we at there?
There's a very good chance of that, actually. All it would take is no one to lose to Penn Manor or Lebanon. Neither of those teams has won except against each other. Yeah. And then McCaskey would have to win at Hempfield, and Township would have to win at home against Cedar Crest, and everyone would be 7-3. And then I guess it would just be the top 2 by power rating in that scenario, which would be Cedar Crest, and then, McCaskey and Township are very close. They flip-flopped in the last week, so you would be hitting the refresh button on the District 3 power ratings and watching those sixth past the decimal point numbers and see where they end up or whatever. But
Uh,
there's a long way to go for that. I mean, for Crest and for Hemfield, just win the last two and you're in. You're in the league playoffs and you got a shot at this thing.
yeah, no four-way ties at the end. We've had a four-way tie in girls in Section 3. In the last week, that went from a four-way tie to a three-way tie down to a two-way tie. When Lancaster Catholic beat Northern Lebanon on Friday up there. Crazy ending. Northern Lebanon trailed the whole game, gets 2 free throws with 27 seconds left to take the lead. Catholic comes down, holds for one. Nevaeh Kennedy, who's a warrior, and that's Coach Charlie Detz's quote a couple of times this year. She's a warrior. She gets an and one with 4 seconds left. They ice her. She hits the free throw. Cherokee for Northern Lebanon almost threw one in from half court at the buzzer, which would have been really bonkers. But Catholic wins that game. So they are now tied for first with Lampeter Strasburg with 2 games to go. Catholic gets Donegal and Elko. Hey, luck of the draw. They're the 2 teams at the bottom of the section. LS has to play Mannheim Central and at Northern Lebanon. So they get the other 2 teams that are still in this mix. And they got to win those to kind of stay there with Catholic. So here we go. I mean, that Section 3 is going to come down pretty much to the last week. We'll see how LS handles Mannheim and Northern Lebanon. Anything else funky going on in your world?
Yeah, the cream rises usually, and there's some separation in these races, but this season there really isn't anyone who's significantly better than anyone else. So it's just sort of this endless stream of close games and who can win on the other team's home court. That's really what it comes down to for the boys. Can you win on the road? Because most of the home teams are winning, and that road win, for example, Mannheim Township went into McCaskey and won, and that kept them in the race. And Hempfield went into Township and won, and that put Hempfield in first place. Those road wins are really what elevates you above the pack. We have a chance on the boys' side to have 2 teams with losing records in the LL tournament. I would wager that has never happened.
Not
Catholic,
2.
Not 2. Lancaster Catholic is 7-12 and in second place, and Hempfield's 7-10 and tied for first. So teams have been good in section and not so good out of section. They play tough schedules. Like Hempfield and Catholic are playing the schedules they played when they were very good, back when they were powers, and they're not quite that good right now. So, you're running into Delone and some of these, York High and some Wilson and some of these bigger schools and good schools, and your out of league record's not so hot. So it'll be interesting to see if those 2 teams get in and sort of, get that shot at it, even though they're not having the best overall season.
You know what I'm starting to think? I'm starting to think that this is Warwick's year. Magical season for Warwick in Section 2, and it continued Friday. This was just wild. Warwick Cocalico, backyard rivals forever and ever in every sport. At Warwick, Warriors needed a win to remain alone in first in Section 2. Cocalico goes up 39-36. Time running out. Emerson Overly dribbles all the way down the court for Warwick, throws a little back pass to Mia Warfel, who we mentioned a lot this winter.
Yeah.
She drives over to the corner, launches a 3, good, and a foul. She gets fouled on the play. Are you kidding me? 39-39. Cocalico calls timeout. 1.4 seconds left. 1.4. Warfel comes out after the timeout, hits the foul shot, 40-39 Warwick. Are you kidding me? Cocalico inbounds at 1.4, gets it to like half court, calls timeout. I don't know how you throw a ball to half court, catch it, and call a timeout in 1.4 seconds, but they did. So Cocalico comes back out, 0.1 on the clock. Really? And they throw it up there, and Kira Lehman, who's a fantastic player, and we talk about her a lot too. She's great. she kind of catches the ball and scoops it up in one swoop, and it spins out at the buzzer. So I have no idea how Cocalico even gets that shot, but they do, and they almost pulled it off. But Warwick wins again, 9-0 in the section. Mia Warfel, she's got my vote for Section 2 MVP. She's just been unreal. The big game, Warwick at Ephrata, is supposed to be Tuesday night. We shall see. Nobody's playing Monday night. I've already heard from somebody who said Tuesday's probably going to get bagged. So that game may be midweek. I don't think it's going to be Wednesday until we get back out there. But we'll see if Warwick can hold on. The big game at Ephrata coming up for first place. And Mia Warfel doing crazy Mia Warfel things.
So you got Penn Manor got Warwick, right, in the girls' side in a non-league game. So you have the question, can Warwick beat those Section 1 teams? Can they beat, the Lancaster Catholic perennial power teams if they run into those guys in the league tournament? I think that's the big test. That's always the test for a Section 1 team. Can you beat the Section 2 team beat a Section 1 power? Mm-hmm. CV has that question on the boys' side, but they play a lot of those teams. They played Cedar Crest and they play Township, and they play some of those teams and they've been competitive against them. So I think they've kind of answered that. So we'll see on the girls' side if Warwick can do that as well.
Yeah, I covered the Penn Manor Warwick game when Penn Manor snapped their 11-game winning streak at Warwick. That was a good win for the Comets. Yeah. And I think I messaged you that night, and I kind of said to some people underneath after the game, the Section 1 kids are wired differently. It's a rock fight every night. The Section 1 kids are just edgier. They have thicker skin. I don't know how else to describe it. You have to see that on the boys' side too, true?
It's a physicality, it's just bigger, stronger. You see this with Lancaster Mennonite. They scheduled Spring Ford this year, and they scheduled Trinity. And Trinity's built, they have a bunch of football guys. They have a bunch of those 6'5" guys who look like they could play, defensive line. Mm-hmm. And Springford's the same way. And the reason why Mennonite did that was because they want to face that rugged physical opponent before they get to the league semifinals or wherever they end up and have to play that team in the playoffs, because you can't replicate that in Section 4 or even Section 3. I mean, look at, as good as Octorara is, it's not a physical team. They're not big, strong kids. They do it more with skill and, cohesion and, being able to shoot threes and force turnovers. You got to be able to beat that big physical team to win the league championship usually.
Yeah, the Section 1 teams, for the most part, like Lebanon, the last couple of years, aren't always the finesse squad, the run and gun and shoot threes and finish in transition kind of teams, other than Lebanon the last couple of years with Correa and that whole crew. But the Section 1 kids, yeah, they just have this edge about them. Big games, wink, wink, coming up this week in Section 1. We'll see if it happens. Cedar Crest starts the week 8-0, 2-game lead over Township. Penn Manor's 3 out, but the Comets are still alive for the 2 line, depending how things shake down. Crest is supposed to play Manheim Township at Crest in the cage on Thursday. And I didn't break down all the scenarios, but if Crest wins that would give them a 3-game lead with 1 to play. So Crest would clinch the section with a win over Township on Thursday. Hopefully that one gets played on time. We shall see. Crest also gets Penn Manor on the last night of league play, February 3rd, 4th, somewhere in there. So Section 1, still mighty interesting. Section 4 has the tie. Pequea Valley and Columbia. Columbia beat Pequea Valley last week, 42-35. Good game in Columbia. So they're both tied at 7-1. Pequea Valley has actually clinched a playoff spot because they swept Anvil Cleona. So the Dutchmen can't catch them for like a section title, and Columbia plays Anvil Cleona, I think, on Friday. And if Columbia beats Anvil Cleona, the Dutchmen cannot catch Columbia in a potential tiebreaker scenario. So Pequea Valley's in, Columbia in with a win over Anvil, and then if they both win out, it'll come down to tiebreaker. It'll keep your District 3 PowerPoint charts handy. What else do you got?
Warwick boys had a big win last week. They lost to CV at home, and that was the
Mhm.
end of their section title hopes. And that was a tough one. And then they go to Cocalico on Friday, and they're down 15 at half,
Mm.
and they rally to win. It's a huge win as far as getting in the league playoffs because it puts them a game ahead of Cocalico, and they have the tiebreaker because they swept the season series. So now Warwick is tied with E-Town at 6-3. Cocalico is 5-4, and E-Town has to face CV, Cocalico, and Warwick the rest of the way. So they have a brutal
Ooh.
schedule to the finish line. So Warwick's in good shape because they pulled that out. Your Majesty Washington scored 35 against CV and 31 against Cocalico last week. He
Nice.
hasn't had the greatest season. He was injured. He missed a few games, and he was averaging around 12 points a game. He went crazy this week, and he's just showing that if you're lining up the most talented players in the LL, he's near the front of that line, and he's up to 966 career points. He's a four-year
Oh.
varsity player. So, which at Warwick, there are not a lot of those. You don't usually get in the lineup as a freshman at Warwick. So, they're in good shape now for a league playoff spot, and if Warwick were to get in, it would face Mennonite, which would be a fabulous quarterfinal matchup.
Ooh. Yeah, it would. I dropped a CCAC update here. This is going to be good. This CCAC tournament should be really good, and I think it's there for anybody's taken on the girls' side. Linville Hill Christians won the last 3 in a row,
Yeah.
all over Mount Calvary. Mount Calvary beat Linville Hill way back in December to kind of get that monkey off their back. You got some good teams here. Veritas, 14-1, number 1 in 1A Girls District 3. Linville, 10 wins, not the same team, but you gotta figure they're going to flip a switch in playoffs. Lancaster County Christian, a 10-win team. New Covenant Christian, just 1 loss. That was the Dayspring Christian, which is also in the playoff mix. They have 11 wins, and Mount Calvary Christian has 11 wins. So that should be a heck of a fun tournament, which also is the week of the LL playoffs. So Jason and I are going to be wicked busy that week, trying to track down all the boys and all the girls and the CCAC. But I think the CCAC playoff bracket should be a doozy. What else you got?
Yeah, it's been the Linville Invitational the last few seasons, and now it's kind of up for grabs. I was supposed to watch Country Day and Linville Hill play last week. Country Day went to Linville and won by a point.
Oh,
And in typical, this is like a sports writer story of woe here, but they moved the game from 7:30 to 6 because the girls' game wasn't played, but I didn't know that. So I got there as the game was over, and someone walks out of the gym and looks at me. He goes, "That's as good a high school basketball game as you'll ever see." And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going to have to take your word for it, buddy, because I didn't actually watch it. But that was a big win for Country Day. They've been really good against opponents in their range, the 1A, 2A type of opponent that they would face in district playoffs. So I would not count them out. They're really talented, and they have a shot to get to a district final, to get to states and maybe win a couple games and make a run at this thing. You kind of forget about them because they can't compete with, the Lancaster Mennonites of the world. But when you put them in their element, they're very good.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to hear. That's the last thing, dude, that you want to hear. Boy, you missed the greatest game of all time.
One. Yeah, I was like thinking all those 25-point games that I watched, and I had to miss the 1-point game decided at the buzzer. That's how it works.
Oh, that stinks. 4 girls are going to hit 1,000 points here in the next 2 weeks. Kenzie Eckhart, Elko, 994. And she's been playing out of her mind. She had a 31-point game. She had a 28-point game to keep Elko in it. Raiders started the week as the last team in District 3 5A. So they're going to need a couple wins to make districts. Eckhart, 994. She needs 6. They play Northern Lebanon on Thursday, so she should get it then. Leah Caldwell, Ephrata, 981 points, so she needs 19. Ephrata was supposed to play Hempfield non-league on Monday. That was a no-go. They get Warwick in the Monster Section 2 game here Tuesday/Wednesday range at home, so she could get it then. Kyla Francis at Cedar Crest, 953, 47 to go for her. That's 2 or 3 games. So she could hit it here to finish out the regular season for the Falcons. And Casey Weimer, 921 for Northern Lebanon. She needs 79. I can do math. So that's a couple of games. I think they have 4 games to go in the regular season. Maybe LLs, and then definitely districts for Northern Lebanon. They're the 2 seed right now in 4A. So those 4 kids, Eckhart, Caldwell, Francis, and Weimer should all hit 1,000 in the coming days. Cool.
Yeah, it's that time of year where the seniors start to get close. I mentioned Your Majesty Washington at 966. Chase Book for Manheim Central's at 988, so he could get it. He probably will get it his next game. Timmy Hambright's at 957. He was, it was kind of iffy whether he could get there, but he has had just a monster scoring year. He's over 400 points already because he's averaging 25 a game. So that would be 2 straight years Cocalico had someone get there with Camden Oaks last year, and 2 straight years for Warwick with Caleb Johnson last year. So some 1,000-point scorers whose careers mostly overlapped. And Chase Book at Central, you look at Central's list, you got Taylor Funk and you got Trey Grube. You got some of the great players of recent history, Tom Knaff, Jordan Gatchell. So to be on that list is to be with, truly great LL players from the past.
That's awesome. Sadly, I think there's going to be a lot of cancellations here. That Manheim Central showcase thing got bagged. So I think some kids are going to miss some games here. I don't think everybody's going to get to their 22 max this season. Sadly, I think some stuff this week, some non-league stuff, is going to get canned.
Yeah, I would guess there's just not enough time left to make it up at this point. Some of those games that were supposed to be at Central last weekend were made up this weekend. They were played at the home court of the LL team. So Hempfield played Cedar Cliff and Cedar Crest played Methacton. So they were able to reschedule some of those games. But Octorara's already lost a game. They're at 21, so I'm sure there will be others.
Probably, yes. I have 2 more notables. Mia Warfel, as mentioned, with that wacky 4-point play the other night. To add a little more history to the shot, it was her 100th career 3-pointer. That's pretty cool. Really. I keep track of everybody's threes, and I forget to update them because I'm always worried about points and are the standings right and which games got postponed and when are they making them up. So I finally kind of just sat down with my stack of papers and started counting, and that was Warfel's 100th 3. Current LL leader in most career threes, Olive Brandt with 150. How's that?
Yeah, about 40 a year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Second notable. Last week we paid homage to the referees. So I'm in a game this last week. Oh man, dude, it was terrible. It was just nonstop screaming, just awful. And there was. I'm not defending anybody, but there were a lot of close calls, and there was a lot of charge block, travel, and it got vicious again for a night. So I guess we didn't get through to everybody.
No, those 50-50 calls, I know you really want your team to win and your kid to win, but there's this perception of extreme bias when a call could go either way and someone has to make the judgment in a split second. And if it goes against you, it's like a personal affront. It's like, I don't know, it's easier for me to swallow because I'm not absorbed emotionally in the outcome. It doesn't matter to me who wins, but these are hard calls. Go try to imagine making that call. Go stand there, watch 2 kids come at each other at 100 miles an hour, and you got to blow the whistle and pick one. Is it a clean block or is it a foul? Is it a block or is it a charge? It's not easy. So maybe cut people some slack.
I know. Okay. Well, we'll get off that. We'll get off that horse here, but. Yeah. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order, my friend?
I will mention that one weird, oddity about the LL tournament is 2 years ago, Ben Troyer at Hempfield didn't make it. He was one of the best 2 players in the league with Ethan Benny. Last year, Chase Smucker didn't make it at LS. He was the league's best player. This year, Demir Salisbury at McCaskey and Timmy Hambright at Cocalico might not make it. So it'll be this weird situation where we've had these truly extraordinary players not in the LL tournament, which is not the greatest thing, but it shows you that there's more to it than having one guy or scoring a lot of points. It's how the pieces fit together. It's having enough all-around talent and all those things. And the all-around team, which Cedar Crest has been the last couple of years, has been the story to win the championship, and maybe that'll be the case again.
Maybe. I have a weird feeling that this is going to be a weird tournament. And like, we don't even know who's going to get in from Section 1 yet, boys. So it's I don't know. I think things will happen this year. I don't know what. I'm making no predictions, but maybe we'll see some different teams standing at the end of the week. Maybe.
It's possible.
It is possible.
Likely, actually. Yeah.
Okay, very good. That's a wrap. It's the Full Court Press podcast. Chatting all things local hoops. Be careful out there, gang. Not sure when kids are going to get back on buses and get back in schools, let alone drive to a gym and play a basketball game. Life comes first here this week. When they're ready, they will get back and they'll play. Keep checking the paper. Keep checking Lancaster Online, especially. We'll keep you updated with the schedules and what's what. And when they start playing again, we'll be all over it. We'll be covering it and bringing it all to you. And hopefully next week we're at a more familiar place doing the podcast. For Jason Guarente, I'm Jeff Reinhart. Thank you, Tyler. Thanks for listening, gang. We'll talk to you next week. See ya.